We start with a child born under a shadow. His name is Tristan, but because he was born to Queen Blanchefleur of Lyonesse just moments before her death, he is known as the child of sadness. He is raised in secret by the Marshal Rohault, growing up not just as a warrior, but as a man of profound skill in music and song. This duality, the strength of a knight and the sensitivity of a musician, defines him from the very beginning. Tristan's life is a series of movements across the sea. He becomes a knight of immense reputation, and eventually his travels lead him to the court of King Mark of Cornwall. Mark is a good king, but his kingdom is embroiled in a bitter dispute with Ireland over tribute. To settle the matter, Tristan enters a duel against the Morholt, the Irish giant, to prevent a war. Tristan wins, but in the heat of the struggle, he receives a wound from a poisoned blade. He retreats to the coast to recover, but the poison is working its way through his blood. It is here that the threads of fate begin to tangle. Iseult, the niece of the fallen Morholt, is a princess of Ireland and a healer of legendary skill. She finds the wounded Tristan and, despite the enmity between their peoples, she heals him. This encounter leaves a mark on both of them, though they are separated by duty and politics. Eventually, Tristan returns to Cornwall, but his presence there is a source of growing resentment among the king's barons. They see Tristan's closeness to the king as a sign of undue influence, or worse, sorcery. To stabilize the court, a marriage is arranged for King Mark, but a divine sign. 2 swallows dropping a lock of golden hair dictates that his bride must be the lady with the hair of gold from Ireland. Tristan is sent to fetch her. On his journey he performs a heroic feat by slaying a dragon in Whitehaven, but he is once again struck by a poisoned tongue. He is rescued once more by Iseult the Fair. In the chaos of their meeting, a terrible mistake occurs. A magical love potion, intended for King Mark and his new bride to ensure a happy marriage, is accidentally consumed by Tristan and Iseult. This isn't just a romantic mishap, it is a cosmic shift. The potion binds them in an inescapable, agonizing passion. It is a love that exists outside of their will, a force that makes their duty to the king and their own social standing feel like heavy, suffocating weights. They return to Cornwall, and Iseult marries King Mark, but the secret passion between Tristan and Iseult cannot be hidden forever. The barons, waiting for any excuse to strike, eventually succeed in having Tristan exiled. The lovers attempt to find a way to be together through secret, quiet means. They use a hidden stream in the orchard to communicate, but the king's court is full of spies. A dwarf named Frosin discovers their secret, and the king is eventually made aware of the betrayal. After a failed trial by combat and a sentence of social death, where Tristan is handed over to the lepers to live in isolation, the lovers find themselves pushed to the very edges of the civilized world. Tristan manages to rescue Iseult, and they flee into the wild, untamed forest of Morrowa. In the forest, the rules of men no longer apply. They live a primitive, almost elemental existence, sustained by the help of a man named Gorvenal. It is a life of pure survival and pure devotion, far from the courts and the conspiracies. Eventually, King Mark finds them. But Mark is not a tyrant. When he sees the lovers, he finds a sword placed between them, a sign that they have remained physically pure despite their passion. Seeing this, he chooses a path of legal resolution rather than immediate violence. Tristan negotiates a deal. He will surrender Iseult to the king if he is allowed to live in exile. Iseult, however, refuses to live as a disgraced woman. She insists on a public trial by ordeal, by iron to prove her innocence and her honor, a trial witnessed by King Arthur himself. During the journey, Tristan disguises himself as a beggar to assist her, ensuring she survives the crossing of a river. Once her honor is cleared, the lovers are separated again. Tristan becomes a knight of fortune, wandering through Europe, a man perpetually searching for a peace he cannot find. Years pass. Tristan eventually marries a woman known as Iseult of the White Hands to settle a debt of honor, but his heart remains anchored to the fair Iseult. In a moment of profound tragedy and longing, he discovers a ring that belonged to his true love. Driven by a desperate need to see her one last time, he disguises himself as a madman and makes his way to Tintagel. This brief, secret reunion is a ghost of what they once were. It leaves him physically and emotionally depleted, a man who has lived a lifetime of longing. The end of the story comes in Brittany. Tristan is mortally wounded by a poisoned spear in battle. Knowing his end is near, he sends a messenger, Caherdin, to Iseult the Fair with a desperate signal. He tells her that if she is coming to be with him in his final moments, the ship she arrives on should fly a white sail. If she is not coming, the ship should fly a black sail. As Iseult the Fair sails toward him, a storm delays her progress. While she is out at sea, Iseult of the White Hands, the woman Tristan married, is consumed by a dark, vengeful jealousy. She sees the approaching ship and, wanting to break Tristan's heart one last time, tells him that the ship carries a black sail. Tristan, devastated by the belief that his true love has abandoned him, loses the will to live. He dies in a state of profound loneliness. When Iseult the Fair finally arrives, her ship flying the white sail, she finds him dead. She kisses him one last time and dies of grief right beside him. In the end, King Mark buries them together. Legend says that a miraculous green briar grew from Tristan's tomb and entwined itself around Iseult's, a symbol of an eternal connection that even death could not untangle. When we look at this story, we see more than just a tragic romance. We see a profound tension between fate and agency. The potion is the ultimate symbol of fate. It is an accident, a cosmic error that removes the character's ability to choose their own paths. Yet, much of the tragedy comes from the choices they make after the potion has done its work. They choose to endure exile, they choose to face ordeals, and they choose to love even when it leads to social death. The question the story poses is, are we the masters of our lives, or are we merely reacting to forces that were set in motion long before we were born? This leads to the duality of love as presented in the text. In the world of the court, love is a poison. It is something that disrupts the social order, breaks oaths, and creates political instability. It is a destructive force that turns friends into enemies and kings into exiles. But in the forest, and in the final scene at the grave, love is presented as something divine and life-giving. It is the only thing that remains when everything else, titles, kingdoms, and even life itself, has been stripped away. The setting also plays a massive role in how we understand their struggle. The court is a place of law, deception, and rigid hierarchy. The forest, by contrast, is a place of sanctuary and spiritual reality. In the forest of Merois, the laws of man are superseded by the laws of nature. It is the only place where they can truly exist as themselves, even if that existence is primitive and precarious. The miraculous briar at the end suggests that while the court is a place of human construction, the truth of their connection belongs to the natural, spiritual world. Finally, there is the recurring theme of deception. From Tristan's disguise as a madman to the fatal lie of the black sail, deception is the primary tool used to navigate this world. It is used to protect, to hide, and to destroy. The tragedy is that while Tristan uses deception to find his way back to his truth, the final deception, the lie about the sail, is what ensures he can never reach it. It is a reminder that in this legendary landscape, the truth is often buried under layers of perception, and sometimes, by the time the truth arrives, it is too late to save anyone.